We have an amazing and active community on Discord, and today's guest, SavingFace, is our chief indicator modding wizard. And we're going to talk to him today and discuss his approach to using TradingView and how everybody can simply modify their own TradingView indicators. And this guide will be very simple and beginner friendly, so it will not include any coding, just simple tricks that everybody can replicate at home. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. Hey, SavingFace, it's great to have you in our video. You have a very beautiful looking chart. But before we get to your modifications, can you give us some useful tips on how to use TradingView more effectively that some of us may not know about, because I know that you're very good at using TradingView.
Yeah, there's definitely some easy things that I think new people should do just to make their life a little easier. And if they don't want to spend a bunch of time digging into the application, some of the easiest things to do is make chart. Oops. Let's see. Make loadouts for your charts, and it's easy way to jump back and forth between different types of like I have one just for my alts that I have one for BTC, and then I have one for my trading. Another thing to just help with day-to-day use is creating lists of assets, because you may not remember all the different tickers, or you may want to look at BTC on different exchanges. Some of them have more history than others, but I definitely recommend what Giovanni recommends is using the Bitcoin all-time, I think it's called all-time high index.
Yes, definitely. That
Yeah,
works
all-time
best
history
with our
index.
indicators, yeah.
Yeah, and it has the most history, so that's why I really like using it as well. And when I first joined the Discord, it was this I had a lot of the same problems because I didn't even know that ticker existed, and it does help quite a bit to make everything synced. You know, if everybody's looking at the same thing, it's much easier to explain things. But so the biggest plus to creating these lists of tickers is that you are able to jump back and forth between different ones that because you may not remember all the names of them, or it just makes it very easy to get to what you're looking for. And the last thing I would say for ease of use and newer people, if you're wanting to do TA, you can go through and star add basically add not indicators, what, oh, tools. Add tools to your favorites list, and
Yeah,
then
that's a
down
great
here on
tip.
the
Yeah, so we can find them very easily again. Yeah.
yeah, and if you want to hide the bar or keep it on your chart, it just makes it, because even finding this, it's the same thing. It can be very cumbersome to go through and click and find each individual one that you like or that you enjoy using. I have to do the same thing because I don't remember where they are. Usually this one's the weirdest one, trying to find the drawing. So I just created a favorites, and you can drag and put it anywhere you like. If you want to hide it, you just unclick it.
Also, we get this
But
question a lot. Do you know how to zoom into the chart? Maybe some of the
oh
people
yeah,
don't know about this.
yeah. So a lot of the times, you will end up accidentally moving it, and you'll end up with a very squeezed chart. And but so this is the price axis, and all you have to do to readjust. So you can double click it, and it will go to auto, that is the A down here, and it automatically fits the data to your screen, and it will adjust. And then also you can, if you don't want it on auto, say you want to zoom into this area and have a little more detailed view, I'm pulling up on the price axis, and then I'm using my scroll wheel to stretch it out.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Or
great.
or
Yeah.
you can use the date to same thing. The date axis to expand it or shrink it in.
Great. So, can you tell us about your approach to modifying the elements of our indicators? What kind of elements have you decided to add or remove? And maybe you can tell us what your approach to color coding is, for example.
Well, when I first started the color coding of these indicators, I really like MVRV. I'll post some links to some detailed descriptions and videos of MVRV, so you can understand it, and much higher educated people will be able to explain it to you. But so MVRV, basically, I like the extremes of it. So I will do this real quick, and we'll turn off the bars. Basically, why I have MVRV set up just to highlight these extreme levels, extreme lows and extreme highs. And it is an oscillator, so you can get stuff like this where it's hitting extreme and then it pulls back. It's hitting extreme and pulls back. It's all, depending on your strategy, how you want to take advantage of that. But that's how I started it. And then also, oops, that is the wrong indicator. But so that's what I started with it. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to use different levels of MVRV to show different color gradients. And they're right here. So I did, traditionally, the top level of MVRV is level 6. And I just moved it down to, so this is how you can see it. It should change the colors. This will all be blue, and the white will be the originally extreme. So it does help a little bit, with trying to find the exact top, but I think we're both on the same page about laddering out. So that should.
How did you add those fading bars leading up to the tops? Can you explain that?
Oh, these the background.
The background, yeah.
Okay. That actually is a different indicator from. Here, I can go ahead and expand these, but that's a different indicator from a gentleman. His name is eluding me right now, but he's a trader on YouTube, and he made an indicator, and I was like, oh, well, that's pretty nice. And it lined up well with previous cycles. And it also gives like a little bit of future area to expect profit taking. So basically it's all in line with everything else. That's why I kept it. It seems to be that everything that I add, I try to add in layers of telling me the same thing, reaffirming what I'm looking at, using the, using the top for the spiral, using the tops for the power law oscillator, MVRV tops, and it all just lined up. And I thought it looked clean because we were even talking about it in class the other day about potentially marking out some areas that show the top.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something we have to steal.
Yeah, and I thought it would be great. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then all I did was take that indicator and I turned off all the settings. So I turned off everything in the background. Everything is turned off except the background colors.
What about those percentages over there, like that are showing the trend deviations from the power law?
Yeah, so I got the idea of that because I was first originally trying to do the standard deviations, and the math was eluding me. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And then once Giovanni was posting the power law daily updates, I saw on his chart, his deviations were just percentage deviations. And I was like, that seems way easier to do it. It's consistent through the price history. And basically, I just followed his. I tried to make my chart look like his power law update chart, a daily update chart. So basically trying to look at everything the same all across the board for like a cycle view of things, not this is not really meant for a day-to-day idea of what's going on. It's more for like I'm only looking at from, top to bottom, bottom to top. That's what I'm really trying to dial down or dial in on with doing that.
And
So
can you tell the
go
audience
ahead.
why you removed, for example, some of the ribbons from the adaptive fitting? Can you, what the reason is?
Sure. Yeah. Let me turn off this one, and I believe so. Well, one, I originally turned them off because it was making my chart lag. So there's just it holds a lot of data. There we go. It holds a lot of data in the small deviations. So I was just turning them off to save a little bit of lag on my chart. But then also, I felt like the major deviations were more important, and that was just for me. I wanted to clean it up a little bit, make it a little simpler. Basically, I'm thinking about all of these lines out of my opinion. It's like, well, are these lines, which ones are the important ones, and which ones are maybe potentially causing me to doubt stuff, or doubt my plan, or doubt the cycle, stuff like that. I try to remove and keep the more what I feel like is important data.
Great. So what about that gap there at the bottom? How does that? What is the reason behind that? Can you tell me?
So originally so I borrowed or adapted this power law indicator from off of TradingView. Excuse me. And there was another line in between here, and it was at like a 30% mark. It was in between these two. And when I was first getting into it, and I thought it was, so if you're DCAing, and just depending on how much you're putting in and stuff like that, this gives you a much bigger buying window. And in my opinion, I was looking at it, well, if it's underneath the power law, like if you look in the history, in my opinion, all of this from the power law under to the support is all a great buying zone. So in my opinion, I was like, well, the 30% is just more noise. Even though it would probably show the support here, and potentially here, and probably even right here. If you're DCAing, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, like you can DCA in dips, or you can DCA and not think about it. Like this indicator, and turn this one off so we're not overlaying it twice. So, and this is why I say this, is that regardless, this just buys once a month, and this is just more of a calculator. It's meant to show you potentially what you could have done. And it felt like the 30% mark wasn't needed as much if you were DCing, regardless if you were underneath the power law. So in my opinion, it just felt like extra noise. So I removed it. and I was like, this is my buying zone. This is my selling zone.
Mm-hmm. Great. That's a great approach. So yeah, we talked about some of the other indicators before. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit, like what kind of other indicators you're using in combination with our power law indicators? Like how do they work together? What do they do?
Yeah. So I'm using a couple of different things. The 150-day EMA is this line here,
Mm-hmm.
and also let's see, it's the power law. Yeah, so I have it set up both ways. The one on the indicator that I made, it doesn't change when you change time frames. It always stays the same. So if we go to the week, you can see that the 150 y'all's power law indicator,
Mm-hmm.
it also is set at 150.
Yeah, that's
But you
great.
can see when I change time frames, it switches to the weekly 150.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I have set up, it stays the same. It
Yeah, that's
stays on
great
the
because
same.
for most moving averages, if you go to the weekly, switch between weekly, daily, you see completely
Hmm.
different moving averages. Yeah, that's so convenient.
Yeah, and it's very easy to do that. Anyone can add that to any chart they want. All you have to do is add an EMA,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you get it set up, you go down here to time frame,
Mm-hmm.
and you go to the daily, and it will stick it to the same. So let me see if I can bring this to the front. And this is an easy way too. So say if something is right now, I have the EMA. It's still there. It's just behind the
Oh,
the
okay.
other the other indicator. So if you've ever done any video editing or picture editing, these are your layers. The
Exactly.
thing that
Yeah.
is on the bottom is on the bottom. It's
Mm-hmm.
underneath. So you can click on the three dots, visual order, bring to front,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's a
I'll
great
make
tip.
it a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make it a little fatter so everybody can see it. So yeah, so now, and you can kind of see when you hover over an indicator, it brings that indicator to the front for a second. That's
Mm-hmm.
why you have that flickering. But but yeah, so it stays the same on every time frame, and that's why I like it. But also I like the warning and the color options of the power law indicator that we have from the Discord, because it gives you these deviation colors
Mm-hmm.
from the original power law. So I like it, and that's what I have both of them on in case I switch time frames, so I can just know, like, oh, that's what I was looking at, the same level on a different time frame.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing that I really enjoy is we already talked about MVRV. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big fan of it. Um, the the other thing that I added recently was I had my own power law oscillator, but I like the way that Giovanni's works better
Mm-hmm.
with uh, the different settings, the way you can change it and the way you look at it. So I made the overlay that I originally had on my power law oscillator and put it on this one. Um, so basically, I put and I'm all of this coding is from different indicators. I saw something I liked, I looked into it, I took the code, I adapted it, and modified it and put it on different indicators. So right now what we're looking at is just an overlay that sits on top of y'all's indicator.
Mm-hmm.
And what I added to this is these background shades or signals, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
Those are called Nupal, and it's I believe it is net realized profit and loss. Yeah, net unrealized profit and loss.
Mm-hmm.
So when these signals are going off, it means that there is a lot of people in a loss and they haven't sold yet. And the same thing here. There's a lot of people in profit and they haven't sold yet. So potentially we have a lot of people in profit. NVRV saying we have a lot of people in profit. The power law oscillator is saying, hey, we're in extreme levels, potentially extreme levels. Nobody knows. It can always go higher or lower.
It's another data point that you can add to make the signal even stronger, right?
Yeah, and if it gets too messy, you can turn them off, make them a little lighter so they're not so heavy. The next thing that I saw on a different indicator that I really enjoyed was like a cycle timer, and it kind of follows. I changed the dates of it. So what we're looking at is this gray line. It's a straight line from bottom to top, and excuse me. What it's not marking any type of price action. It's only based on time. So it's basically the 4-year cycle: 3 years up, 1 year down; 3 years up, 1 year down. And what's nice, it has that extension to the top side. So once it crosses this line up here, it will show the signal of like, hey, we're in the timed top of previous 4-year cycles. And I think the last thing that I added to this was a EMA. But it was a little weird. But you have to go into the source. Instead of clicking close, I had to find the percentage difference, which is the line here from your power law oscillator. And then it was able to basically, looking at the same thing several different ways that all kind of help each other. It may be a little bit of an echo chamber with this kind of stuff, but also it's on-chain metrics, it's power law, it's deviations. And if everything seems to be lining up, in my opinion, it's a good way to go. And also, if you're thinking about the market with a where is the top, where is the bottom, you can get in a lot of trouble doing that because basically you can miss it if you're, like we talked about, if you're not laddering out, if you're not laddering in. It can be very dangerous. You can sit at the bus stop waiting forever, and potentially, like last cycle, your 100K may never come. And you don't want to, you may not want to wait for a whole nother bear market to potentially, it's hard. It's hard holding through a bear market. So if you're wanting to take profits, you may want to set things up to where, regardless of what happens, if you're buying low and selling high, you're doing it the right way, regardless if it goes past where you took profit at.
Yeah, that's why you're putting so much emphasis on the tops and bottoms. Can you tell us about the geological references you told me about before? That blew my mind.
Yeah. So when I started doing the colors for the NVRV levels, it really started with like, basically I'm trying to mute colors, but then also make colors stand out. And so that's why I have the extra glow part on the highs and lows. And then once I started, I was like, okay, well, I didn't really have any type of reference when I was, or why I was picking these certain colors, but it ended up looking like a mountain, in my opinion. And, we're down in the bedrock of the earth, and then you start to get into the dirt. And then you kind of start to get into the grassy area, which you can change the colors to whatever you like. But say you start getting into
more green,
yeah, you can change it to green, to where you're like, oh, okay, we're starting to see the surface of the planet. And the higher we go, we're starting to get into the sky, we're starting to get into the clouds, and now it's starting to snow.
Mm-hmm.
and um, and basically it just really it emphasized and kind of put into perspective like deviations from the power law. Like, are we extended? Well, are we at the mountaintop? It kind of looks like we're at the mountaintop. Maybe we
Mount
should take
Everest
some
over there.
profits. Yeah, um, and it can, and it can happen multiple times to where it's hitting these highs and pulling back, hitting these highs and pulling back. It's always going to be a little different, but it's the cycles will always somewhat rhyme, or they have so far. And in my opinion, like we've had these 3 cycles. We've had 2 double tops. Well, I say double tops, but I mean 2 peaks in one
Mm-hmm.
cycle. 2 peaks in one cycle, only one. 2 peaks in one cycle. So I would assume that it's potentially more. We've had more 2 peaks than one. So it it's always possible to have multiple spikes up, or a big spike and a pullback and another big spike. No one ever knows, so you have to just be prepared.
So, what's your advice for people who want to modify their own indicators but don't know where to start from?
I would definitely say it's just like any other type of technology or application. The more you use it and play around with it and break things, that's usually how I learn the best.
Mm-hmm.
I've said this multiple times. I don't really know how to do a lot of stuff. I just know how to break a lot of things, and I've learned how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So with doing that, you'll end up finding different ways, different problems to get around things. So there's multiple different ways, but I would say take your time, go over the application, and if you are potentially worried about breaking something, you can come up here, and hopefully this is available on the free version.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I've had a paid version of TradingView since I think 2017, so it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
But you can open up an extra chart within one chart tab. So if you do this, you can set up both charts exactly the same, and then change things on this side. And it won't affect what's happening over here because
Mm-hmm.
it's acting like this is a separate chart.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully this is available to everyone. If not, you can open up different tabs and try them out. And then if it doesn't work out for you, if you don't like it, just close the tab, but make sure you don't save it, because
Mm-hmm.
if you save it and it's underneath the same chart layout, then it's going to change your original chart layout.
Great. And autosave won't affect that either, right? Or how does that work?
If saving it like this, if it's available on the free version to have 2 different charts
Mm-hmm.
on one chart tab, saving won't affect you.
Mm-hmm.
But say we open up another chart layout, but it's the same one. So now if I go back to this layout and I save this and close the original chart tab that we were just on, it would save this chart layout. And next time I start up the application, both chart layouts would be the same. So you have to be a little careful, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, if you break it, it's not a bad thing. It's okay. Just add everything back, start again, and you'll start to learn these little quirks about the application. It's just like a normal computer. If you have multiple files of the same thing, you can change certain things, but also you potentially might be rewriting the other files to save them
Mm-hmm.
as the same.
Yeah.
So,
I
see,
think that's
even right
great
here,
advice because that takes away the anxiety from, messing something completely up, right? You can always
yeah,
reset.
yeah, and if you're only looking at Bitcoin, you have more charts available to you, so you can have multiple different layouts of different Bitcoin charts, and then use one for experimenting and use one for like this one. I don't really change this chart all that much, the clock. I keep that one pretty much the same, and I do testing and everything else on a different chart because it just makes it easier. Like I've got this one to the way I like it. So that's my main chart, I guess you would say.
Great. And last question, do you have any other tips for beginner investors who are confused about choosing a strategy that works for them, instead of following someone else's approach, listening to some YouTuber or whatever?
There's definitely gonna be I'll put it to you this way. So what I've learned from 2017 to now is that it's better to not listen to people's opinions.
Exactly.
You kind of come up with your own strategy, or you listen, you can listen to other people, hear their opinions, see if it matches up with what you're thinking, what you're doing with the power law indicators. And it's okay to get ideas, but any plan I would say that you start using, I would say come up with your own plan and come up with things that look like they work over and over. It's better to take full responsibility than it is to, a prime example, like we were talking about earlier, when we're up here and we're overextended, we're having signals of tops, and even though it was out of time, it wasn't the right time to happen. Everyone was calling for 100K, and I was like, yeah, well, everybody else is saying it. Why won't it go there? You know what I mean? If everybody's thinking the same thing, sometimes in markets, it will do the opposite. But come up with your own plan, stand on your own 2 feet, you know what I mean, and stick to it. Like for me, I decided to originally buy when the pi cycle low went off, and it was right around 20,700. And was there better positions that I could have taken? Like I didn't do it well. I went all in, bought what I was buying all in at once. It would have been better if I DCA'd. In my opinion, I would have been able to take advantage of some of this. Do I know if I would have been done DCAing before we got past 2,700? I don't know. You know what I mean? Hindsight's always easy to change or say I would have done this and that, and that's why it's hard. You want to come up with your own opinion, so you're not going, oh, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. But yeah, in my opinion, the easiest way if you're first starting out, is buy underneath the power law, DCA like that. And if you want to take profits, start taking profits I'm going to wait for the 150% level, because I'm too greedy. Oh, let's put it that way. I'm too greedy. I don't want 60% from the power law. I want at least 150% from the power law. But that's just me. You may not be as greedy as I am.
Go big or go home, right?
Yeah. Like you know what I mean? I have anyone that bought in this area, like from in this box, is like you have the opportunity.
Yeah, you did very well. You're being too humble. You bought pretty much the bottom.
Yeah, it's like 5. Yeah, I know. I don't want to sound too rude or rub in people's faces that potentially miss the time. And that's the thing. Like, basically, you have to pay attention to it. Not that you have to trade, but if it's hitting levels where it's like, hey, this is extreme lows, you may want to buy some if you're going to get into the market. And that's kind of what I did. But in my opinion, the easiest way for beginners, buy underneath the power law. If you're wanting to take profits, set a area where you do want to do that, regardless of where it is. And if it hits it, take your profits. If it goes above it, don't freak out and don't be hard on yourself, because we talked about, there's a book called One Good Trade, and it basically means is and I'll give you my trade example so we don't have to make something up. I bought down in this area.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to sell up in this area. That is my trade strategy. That's it.
Simple
That's all
and
I'm
very
trying.
effective.
Yeah, that's really all I'm trying to do. Regardless, and that's why I say, if you can take the thinking out of it a little bit, it does make it a little easier. If you can take more opinions out of what you're doing, basically boiling it down, cutting the fat away, because you can get very caught up in the day-to-day stuff. So if you can make it simple, buy low, sell high. We're in the lows, and we're in the highs. I need to be planning all this stuff. So if I have a take profit set at 150, I'm going to take it regardless if it goes through the roof. If we have some catastrophic, dollar disaster, it doesn't matter, because my plan was to take profit at 150% from the power law.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what makes a good trade. You have a plan, you stick to the plan, even if it goes higher or if it doesn't work out. Say it never gets to the 150% and I don't get to take profit. It's still a good trade, because I put a line in the sand. I said, this is what I'm doing, and I'm sticking to it regardless of what happens.
Great. That's a great closing statement. Well, SavingFace, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we really appreciate all of your work. Also, guys, make sure to follow SavingFace on X. I'll put the link in the description. All right. See ya, man.
Thanks, everybody.
If you wish to support the making of our videos, research, and indicators, you can join one of our very affordable Patreon tiers and gain access to our Power Law TradingView indicators that help you understand where we currently are in Bitcoin's market cycle. In addition, you get to join our active Discord community, teeming with fascinating discussions and online lectures. We're looking forward to meeting you on our Discord server. This is Saverio speaking, and as always, thanks for watching.